even keep, they say that they follow the Most High, but yet they don't keep the Shabbat. There's people out there that feel like you can't even keep the Shabbat because you don't have an offering, because you're not in the land.
Doesn't it explicitly say in all your lands?
Yeah. Yes, Lucas, it does say that. And also too, we understand. Go ahead. What you saying, Lucas? There's people there that feel like you can't even keep the Shabbat because you don't have an offering, because you're not. Shabbat shalom.
Doesn't it explicitly say in all your lands?
That was a recording. Go ahead, Lucas. What were you saying?
No, I wasn't. That was feedback you were hearing.
Yeah, but prior to that, I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, that was it. That was my only comment.
Yeah. So that's what it is. So congratulations to everybody who's keeping the Shabbat. You're doing what the Most High has asked you to do. Actually, I believe it's part of the test. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right, great. So listen, I want to set the tone. I want us to be able to ask questions. Okay. I'm not a preacher. Okay. So I'm not here to just keep telling you stuff. I want you to ask questions, or if you see something, bring it out, lift your hand, be involved. Okay. I'm going to ask some questions because I want you to learn. And if you don't answer it correctly, don't be afraid to answer it, because there's a lot of things that we don't know that we should know. And the only way we can find that out is by asking questions. And actually, to remind you, in our culture, asking question means that you're looking to ask for the power to know, right? That's what wisdom is. It's the power to know, to ask. That's how we gain our wisdom, is through asking questions. If we don't ask any questions, then we're not being wise. Okay? We're not. And we're a family, we're a mishpachah. So, and I'm not making that up. We are. We're all together. We're all serving the same Elohim, and we're all trying to get in alignment with his mindset, because everything is mind. Everything that you see around you has been created by some mind, some thought. That thought has been expressed by Yah's saying it, and he speaks it. And as he speaks it, it comes to pass, which proves that he exists. And there's many things that you and I don't know about, but there's things that you and I can see. We don't need to believe anything. If you look outside your window right now and there's a tree or grass or the sky or whatever it may be, a bird, you don't have to believe that that's a bird. You shall know that it's a bird. It exists. You can prove it. So, that's the thing about us, is that we have to understand that our Creator is infinite in his wisdom, and he's showing us, and he's given us an opportunity to come to know him prior to him making a decision about whether or not you and I are going to enter his land. There's no guarantees for nobody online right now. There's nothing that we have as a guarantee saying that you're going to go into the land. Nothing. There's no guarantee of that. He tells us that I'm going to bring you out, and then I'm going to make a separation between those who follow what I said and those who are the rebels. And there's some things about us that we just don't know, or we haven't taken the time to really assess. And we should know. A rebel should know themselves. A rebel is somebody who has a bitterness in them about something the Most High has said. Okay? This Torah portion this week was called Naso. And Naso means to be lifted up. It's going to be talking about how the sons of Israel, the princes, how they were to lift up an offering to the Most High and bring that to him. It also talks about how Aaron and his sons were to be able to put a blessing on the children of Israel. Okay. In their prayers called Wayisa, meaning to lift up and put Yah's name upon them. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about several things, but I want you to get the understanding about Naso. Naso is about lifting up. It comes from the root word of Nasa, like the word, or what we understand as NASA, spacecraft, NASA, NASA, the spaceship, and it means to go up. Okay, in our case, is to carry or to lift up. So that's the idea. And so we're going to find out what you and I are supposed to be lifting up today and how to lift it up. We can lift things up, but how do we lift it up? And that's what we're going to talk about today. A big part of that Torah portion this week was talking about breaking faith. Breaking faith. Breaking faith with Yahweh. And he gives us several examples about that. So one of the things that he had mentioned to us about breaking faith was when he says, speak to the sons of Israel, and when men or women individually commit any wrong toward a fellow human being, thus breaking faith with Yahweh, and they realize their guilt, they shall confess the wrong that they have done. They shall make restitution in the principal amount and add 1/5 to it, which is 20%, giving it to the one who was wrong. Okay. When I thought about this and I looked at it, this is one of the first things he talks about, except for when you go into when you're about to go into your land, I want you to separate everybody out of the camp. Okay. But also too, while they were in their camps, he says, anybody who has Zazarat from this day forward, I need you to put them outside the camp. So up to that point, people who had, skin issues and diseases and this whole thing of talking about each other and slander, because this is when they would get this, he says, put them outside the camp. Now that you have dedicated yourselves to me, now I need you to put them outside. The men and the women of breaking faith with each other is actually a violation that's going against the Creator himself. I know this is something that you and I have never been taught, okay? Breaking faith with Yahweh is not just breaking faith with him, it's how we treat our fellow human beings, okay? The fellow human beings. And the fellow human beings in that text in the Hebrew is called Adam, okay? And we know that as Adam from a religious standpoint, but we know that Adam is both male, which is called Zakar, and female, which she is called Nequeva. Okay, she's a Nequeva, and he's a Zakar, male and female. So that's what Adam truly is. It's not just a man named Adam, it's both male and female. Okay, because the two shall be one, and we're going to see that in our studies today, that the Most High is concerned about how we treat other human beings. He didn't say, how do you treat your brother? He said, how do you treat a fellow human being, a fellow Adam? So when Israel talks about how it's just us inclusively and everyone else is put on the back burner, Yah's telling us as a people, we're going to have a high degree of honor and respect towards those who are called Adam. Individuals, human beings that are from all walks of life, every race, every creed, okay? And he's saying that if you do anything, but more specifically in this text, he's talking about in his community, okay? But he still gives us the idea that you and I can't just be for our community, it's the individual as a fellow human being. Because if we were to look at it the way that other people look at it, we say, well, we're not in the land. So I don't need to worry about breaking faith with Yahweh because I'm mistreating another human being. Anytime we abuse anybody else, that is a breaking of faith with Yah. And somebody tell me why. Why is mistreating a human being breaking faith with Yahweh?
May I answer? I should have raised my hand first.
Oh, it's okay, sister. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's against his nature. Like when he revealed himself to Moshe, he said he was kind and patient and long-suffering. And, so those are his attributes. So we forget that sometimes. So, meanness and being unkind to people, and it's against his holiness.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And also, too, to add on to that, when he made humanity, he made them in whose image? Whose image?
His own
He made them in his own. So when we mistreat them, right, we're having disregard for what he is made in his image. And you say, well, what is his image? It's his character, how he sees things. He sees them as one, right? So anytime we abuse either one side of that human nature, okay, or that image that the Most High has made, then you and I are the image that was worthy of him. Now, listen, it's not, Yah is not a man and he's not a female. It's the image in which he said, I'll make this image that's worthy of carrying my essence. Okay. So that's what that's what you're talking about. Okay. So within that, in the Hebrew text, I'm not going to read this in Hebrew because a lot of you don't know Hebrew, but I'm going to show you that these are the letters that are used for that, and that's called Ma'al. Okay, M-A-A-L, Ma'al. And Ma'al is that idea of breaking faith. Okay, is being used here right next to each other. So what it means, every time in Hebrew you see two words that are exactly alike next to each other, one is called an infinitive. Okay, and an infinitive means that this will happen. Infinitive means breathing is infinitive. There's always going to be breath. Blinking your eye is infinitive. Walking is an infinitive. Speaking is an infinitive. So this is not a verb right here. It's an infinitive. He's letting us know this happens all the time. Okay. But for us, he's saying, I don't want you to do this. You have an option. You have a choice. This next one right here is a verb. That means that you have actually taken advantage of the infinitive and said, I'm going to do this very thing that is available to me. So I'm asking you not to do this.
Why do you ever want to go home? I just want to stay here.
I know.
Hey, Rivqua, can you put your device on mute? Thank you, sweetheart. So we see here that it is Adam, Ha-Adam, talking about the man. I don't want you to do this to them, even though it's available. I don't want you to do this. And at no time has Yah instructed us to do this, okay? Because what that's really known as, Ma'al is recognized as what you call a transgression. That's a transgression. It's a noun. So this is how you say Ma'al in English, transgression. That's the noun. There is a verb. The action of the transgression is called transgress, okay? Just wanted to give you the grammar on that. But it means to commit an unintentional. Listen carefully. This is an unintentional act of treachery that results in error, which we would identify as sin. Okay? So when you talk about transgression, and it's a separate word called Ma'al, this is nothing but a different type of sin. That's all it is. It's just a different type. Okay. There's all different types of sin. Okay. There's deliberate sin. There's unintentional sin. This is one of the, sorry for the angles. This is one of the unintentional sins. Okay. So you got intentional and unintentional. So when a woman has a baby, right, and she has to go through a time of purification, he tells her to bring a sin offering. Now, is that sin intentional or unintentional?
Unintentional.
It's unintentional. Ain't nothing she could do. Okay, a man has a seminal emission in the middle of the night. Is that intentional or unintentional?
Unintentional.
It's unintentional. So it's always gonna, so listen, it's always gonna be there. Okay, that's what you would call an infinitive. Women are always going to have babies and men are always going to have seminal emissions. I make those points out because I'm talking about the nature. Okay. I'm talking about that which is natural. Let's get this idea out of us that you got to be some evil person to commit a sin. You could be a regular, normal person that has this unintentional part of you that's doing something. And Yah says that when you do this, when you do the unintentional, it is an error. And guess what? That's an infinitive. You will always make mistakes. But Yah is telling us that when you make that unintentional mistake against your brother and against humanity, that is called a transgression. And Yah deems it as treachery. So he's letting us know the different level of even unintentional sin has a treachery attached to it. And because of Yah's, what they would call his kadoshness, his holiness, he's saying, I can't have you do this to another human being. I'm bringing it to your attention that you're breaking faith with me. And I don't want you to stay in that position. So when I tell you that I don't want you to do wrong towards somebody, I'm not talking about intentional. I'm not talking about you're plotting against them to rob them. I'm telling you that if you do something on an accident, you're still breaking faith with me. That puts it on a whole different level. Your transgression against me is unintentional. I'm not making provision for those who are doing things intentionally against me. Okay, our Torah portion is about being lifted up. And I said, Yah, what is it about this transgression between a man and a woman, or when they do something against another human being? Where does it start? It starts in Bereshith, because Bereshith means in the beginning. Go to the beginning to find out what I'm talking about. That's why I gave you the story. Surely, if you do right, there is uplift, okay? There is a lifting up of one if you do right. But if you do not do right, sin crouches at the door. Its urge is to come towards you, yet you can be its master. Yah is talking to a man called Cain, okay, known as Qua-yin, which in English is called Cain. This is before he murders his brother. Yah tells him that if you would do what's right, there's uplift. See, in the English, it tells you that, if you do what's right, then things will go well for you, but it's not telling you to be uplifted. So what are we learning? We're learning that sin is trying to tear us down. Woo! I'm not talking about intentional people. They're already torn down. I'm talking about unintentional sin. Why is Yah concerned with unintentional? Why is that so important to him? Because he understands what his job is trying to do. It's trying to be your master. It's trying to keep you down so you won't be lifted up. Because if you're not lifted up, you can't lift Yah up. Naso is about lifting up something to Yahweh. And when you and I are down, we can't lift Yahweh up. The breaking of faith is the relationship. Yah is saying, if I am lifted up and I'm high and I'm mighty, I need you to be lifted up. I need you to stay up. I don't need you to be down. You can't lift me up when you're down. And that can happen because of unintentional sin. So can you control some of this? Some of it you can. Pregnancy, you can't. That's coming out of your body, you can't. That's something that happens. It's natural. But what about this idea that we just saw about what he mentioned in the Torah portion about what you can do to your fellow human being? Can you watch? Yes, you can watch. You can guard against this. This is something that you can have control over. So there are no excuses when it comes to how we look towards other human beings. That word uplifted or lifted up, when he says, if you do good, okay, then will you not be lifted up? The word there is called sa'ath or sa'ath, okay? Right here. It's called sa'ath. Now I'll just write it in English, S, and then eighth. Sa'ath, okay? Sa'ath. So the question is, halo, meaning if you were to do good, if you were to cause this good, and he says, if not, lo, meaning that you not do this good, at the door is this kata, this sin. This sin is at your door, right? It's laying there. It's trying to get you to do something, okay? So what I want you to do is, if I'm telling you, if you were to do good, won't I accept you? Won't I accept you if you do good? I looked at this too. This word acceptance has this idea of embracing you. Won't I embrace you? Won't I wrap my arms around you? This man was trying to offer Yah something that Yah didn't accept. He wouldn't accept his man's offering. Yah refused to accept his offering because he didn't have the right offering. He didn't do it the way that Yah said. So Yah says, I'm not accepting it because I didn't ask you for that. There's something I'm looking for out of each individual. It's not the offering, everybody. It's the manner in which I told you. If I told you I want a bull, give me a bull. If I told you you need to be first year, give me the first year. If I told you need to be without blemish, make sure it was without blemish. If I tell you I want your first fruits, I don't want your second fruits. If I tell you I want your firstborn, give me your firstborn. Just listen to what I'm saying. I created everything. Why do I got to keep convincing you about what I know that I want? I'll accept you if you will do that which is good. Sa'ith has to do with not only being lifted up, it means to be exalted. If you're going to lift me up, you got to be lifted up. If you do what's good, won't I exalt you? Won't I lift you up? Won't I exalt you? Won't I give you a sense of majesty because I'm majestic and I'm the king of the universe? My desire is to lift you up and bring you to a place of prominence and to bring you to a place of excellency. But you can't be these things if you're down with your sin. I need you to understand something today. I need you to be the ideal citizen in my kingdom. If you're going to walk around me, you got to take upon the things that show that, guess what? If I'm this, then surely my Elohim is greater than me. Do you see? So I need you to live this type of life of excellency. I need you to always have this sense of awareness about who I am. And you have to be that. You have to be an exemplary. You have to be this outstanding, this person who understands things, this authoritative figure, this one who's worthy of honor and respect and commands it. For you are a people who are consecrated to your Elohim, Yahweh, all the peoples on the earth, of all, meaning above all the peoples on the earth. I've lifted you up and I chose you to be Elohim's treasured people. So if I've called you to be a treasure, I've caused you to be the number one, I've caused you to be the chief of nations, I've caused you to consecrate you, you must have to be excellent, you have to deal in a sense of majesty. Remember, he says, surely if you would do what is right, there's uplift. But if not, if you don't do right, sin is it couches. It's couching. It's sitting, it's couching at the door. That's what it's doing. That's what sin does. It's literally couching at your door, at the door. And its urge is towards you. Okay. And yet you can be its master because sin wants to make a resting place at your door. What door? The door of your mind. Remember? Right? So you got your brain, right? And you got two doors. You got two doors. Okay. You got your eyelids. Okay. Those are the doors. Okay. You also got some other doors, which is in your ears that you can open up and you can close them. You can keep them shut. Okay. You also got another door, which is your mouth. These are all entry points into your body and into your mind. Do you understand? So there's different ways to get to you. Okay. Those are entrance places. Okay. Not exits, entrance. So sin is trying to have a resting place inside of you. That's where it wants to reside. Because if it's in there and it wants to rest in you, what it's going to do is going to keep you down. It's going to keep you down. It's going to keep you from your excellence. It's going to keep you away from your majesty. It's going to keep you away from being exalted. Because if you're not exalted, you cannot exalt Yah. That's what I'm trying to let us know. We cannot lift Yah up when we're down. Woo! Surely if you do right, there's uplift. There is this majesty and this excellence. But if you do not do what's right, then sin is couching. It's relaxing and laying itself out, spreading itself out at the door. Its urge is towards you. We're going to talk about this urge. What is this urge? but yet you could be its master. The urge is that sin not only wants to live with you, but it has a desire. It's craving you. It's so hungry for you. Its desire is towards you. It's like lusting after you. It's just continually like pursuing you, right? So it can devour you. This is what it wants to do. It wants to bring you down. Don't you understand that? It wants you to stay down so you can never be lifted up. But the only way that it's going to be able to do this is if it gets a hold of you. So it craves you, kind of like when we have a craving for a certain type of food or a sugar. You know, if you've eaten a lot of sugar and then all of a sudden you cut it out, your body starts going through this desire of craving. You start craving it and you just start looking around and you know, one time I was a bodybuilder and I used to work out and stuff, and I made the mistake one day and I didn't eat a lot of salt. So one day I just had a slip up. I had a bag of Doritos, one of the little small ones, and I went crazy. Like once I had that one bag threw me over the edge and messed my whole workout up. It messed up every goal that I had. One bag, a little small child-sized bag of Doritos, messed me up. I bounced from that bag and I went to the whole bag. I lost it because I was having a craving for salt. And this is what sin wants to do. Sin to get you out of control. Okay, it's craving you. It's thirsty. It's thirsty. It puts a thirst inside of you. It wants to keep you thirsty. It wants to keep you down, people. And overall, what he's talking about is that this sin is overwhelming. Okay, so it's like when it's talking about it's at the door, it's not only knocking at the door, it's like you're saying no, and it's keep going. All you hear is this. Go away. I told you I don't want any. It just won't go away. It's not ever going away. Don't you understand what y'all's telling us? It's an infinite. It's always going to be there. So if it's going to be there, Yah says that you have to make up your mind. Okay, it's like a water that's pinned up at a door. And as soon as you open the door, just a flood comes inside. That's what he's talking about. He wants to overwhelm you. Sin is overwhelming because if it overwhelms you, it overpowers you, and then you won't be lifted up. You'll be taken away by it because it's at your door. I told you it's at your door, but you could be its master. Now, when it talks about you can be its master, it doesn't use the word of a master, which is called an adon, right? So it's not talking about mastering in that way. What it's talking about is this word called mashal. Okay, the U right here is the tav that's added onto the front. And then this right here says mashal. And mashal means to rule. Okay, but it has a deeper meaning besides ruling. You can rule. You can have rulership against it or over it or him. Okay, that's what this O right here is, a him or it, depending on what it is. So you can have rulership over it. That's why he says you can be his master. So rulership, a person who rules is a master. So I need you to rule this. I'm giving you permission to mashal over it, against it. Okay, and so it can't have control over you. So when I told you that if you do this against a male or a female, you guys do this against another human being, what's going on is that you're losing your mastery and you're losing your control and your mashal over it. That bow is over it. Okay, so you need to timshal bow. Okay, little quick Hebrew lesson for you. Simple. When I write this out, don't let these letters confuse you. They're nothing but letters. Okay, this is the letter T. That little dot right there is this I. It's not hard. The next letter is an M, right? This mem right here. The sha right here is this. The ah is right here. The L is right here. The B is right here. And the O is right here. You already know how to say these letters. You just don't recognize that these are the English equivalents. You understand? That's all you don't know. So when I say, timshal, it's easy. Timshal bow. You can do that. You're just not used to saying it. But if I say O, you know what O is. They just show you right here. This is what it is. So learn Hebrew. Learn the language. I'm going to put a new class together for us. I haven't rolled it out yet, but we're going to be going over this. Our other classes have ended. I'm going to give everybody a break for a moment. We'll get back to it. But timshal, I want you to have dominance. I want you to have dominance over this sin, because if you don't have dominance over, then you're always going to be down. So my goal is not to make you just pick you above all the peoples. I'm trying to teach you and show you how to be the master over your sin. Okay. And the way that you become a master over is by thinking. Okay. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, but you got to learn from your mistakes. You're not supposed to just take your mistake and accept it and keep making the same mistake. Just find out. Okay. I learned from that. Okay. Well, what do I got to do? Well, it's going to cost you something. So when Yah says that, hey, if you make a mistake, you got to add the 100% of what you did and 20% towards it, and you got to bring an offering. Guess what he's saying? You got to learn from it. And guess what? You're going to have to pay. You're going to pay. And guess what? Those rams and those lambs and all that kind of stuff is called money. You're going to learn by paying. That's the only way you can learn, is through paying. You'll learn not to park in a place where they told you only have 3 hours and you're there for 4. You're going to pay. You're going to pay. If you forgot to pay your taxes, you're going to pay a penalty. You're going to pay. So you won't what? Do it again. So they're using the principles of the Torah to teach you. Okay. That's what's going on. He says, but your iniquities. Okay. This is in Isaiah, Yashayahu chapter 52. I brought this out because I want to show you that if you allow your iniquities to control you and master you, those things are going to be the barrier between you and your Elohim. That's what's going to set us a difference between us. Okay. Is what we do. Our iniquities, our transgressions, our perversity is what separates us from Yah. Because Yah is not an Elohim of transgression. He's not one of inequality. He's not one where you could do something bad to somebody and you just walk away like nothing happened. It'll get everything out of balance. Your sins have made the divine face turn away from you, refusing to hear you. And that's because of these iniquities and because of these sins, because you're not the master. So you're serving another master. Then the master you're serving is your sins and your iniquities. Those are your masters, because they've been knocking at your door and you gave in to them. They've been craving you and you just gave in to them. Okay, what the heck? All right, whatever. Just let them in. They've been here and, they got you thirsty, you see? So when you and I are letting these things control us, then Yah is not being our master. Go ahead, Azanya.
I just wanted to say that these things and what was written in what the Most High said to Cain, these are all the issues that really make that should make people question the New Testament. The fact that the Holy One is saying that we can control.
Yeah. We lost you, Okoti. That's true. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so that's what's going on. She's absolutely 100% correct. The New Testament tells you that you don't have any control. They don't want you. Listen, they don't want you to be the master. That's what this is about. I'm here today to tell you that Yah says that you could be the master. You can rule and have dominance. And therefore, if you have rulership and dominance, you will be lifted up in excellency and majesty, because that's who you are. You understand? So these iniquities is what's separating us from Yah. Your hands are defiled with crime and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips speak falsehood and your tongue utters treachery. That's what happens. Well, what about this treachery? Your tongue utters treachery. What do you mean? I'm making mistakes? Yeah, you're defiling with your hands. Some of the stuff he's mentioned here is intentional. But what they weren't paying attention to was their unintentional. See, sometimes we think that when we make a mistake, it's okay and there's no cost. That's not true. Yah's going to hold us accountable because that's who he is. You see? Because mashal is not only about rulership. This is the word that he's used called timshal. Remember, just put a T right here, put the I right there, and then put the bow right there. Tim, shal, bow. The root is called mashal. Okay? Which is that mem, the shin, and a lamed. 3-letter root. Mashal. Mashal. Okay. Mashal means to rule, but to rule, one must be able to make comparisons. Rulership is not, I'm just going to do this and that's it. Rulership is to be able to look at two different areas or two different things and make a comparison between the two. So what the Most High is asking us is to look at your actions. Look at both sides of your actions. Just don't just do something just to be doing it. Make a comparison before you do it. Even when you go buy a house or buy a car or whatever, you use this idea of judgment and you're making a rulership saying, okay, well, this one is here. Should we go with this one? No, because I don't like the features on that one. Okay, should we move in this house or whatever? Well, let's make a comparison between this neighborhood and that neighborhood. So you and I are familiar with comparisons. We're familiar with making decisions. Okay, so if you're making those type of decisions, really what decisions is rulership. You're having dominance. You're being dominating at that time. So rulership is part of who you are. And the Most High is saying that I want you to be able to make comparisons. I want you to compare between the New Testament. I want you to make a comparison between what I said. I don't call it Old Testament. I call it the Tanakh. Okay, I want you to make a comparison between what I said as a savior and what they said as a savior. I want you to make a comparison between what they said you can eat and what I said you can eat. I want you to make a comparison to what I would accept as shedding innocent blood versus what they shed. So I'm giving you an opportunity to make a comparison. So I've given the world the opportunity to make a comparison, which in a lot of times those comparisons bring you to the one thing called choice. You have a choice or choices to make. So when you're making choices, you're operating as a ruler. And you're determining at that moment whether or not you're going to be the ruler or it's going to rule you. Those are the only two options. Either you're ruling or you're being ruled. Are you the master of it or it's the master of you? You understand? That's the choice that you're making. That's the comparison. Am I going to rule or it's going to rule me? That's what it is. Where there is much talking, because he talked about the transgression of the lips and the treachery of a person's mouth. This is where a lot of this transgression happens. It happens when someone's talking too much. Because he says where there's a lot of talking and much talking, Rabbah, there is no lack of transgression or transgressing. When we talk too much and we're not doing a more comparison, we're not curbing our tongue, we're not minimizing, we're not quantifying or qualifying our words just to be talking and talking. The Most High says this is where you're making your mistake. This is where you're making a mistake because you're talking too much. One has to be able to control their tongue. That curb right there is control and to restrain and refrain his tongue. That's the person who shows wisdom and sense. That's the person who is prudent. That's the one who understands, because instead of them talking, what they're doing is they're making comparisons inside of their head. The other person's talking, they're checking their words and they're measuring them out and they're weighing them out. And this other person's talking too much. And that's where the transgression is happening. Transgression, again, is an error. Remember? It's an error. You've done too much. If in the case that he says that you have done a transgression against somebody else, what he's saying is either you gave too much or you promised something that you didn't deliver. So you're over promising and you're under delivering because you're talking too much. God's telling us, watch what you say. In our Torah portion, we learned about an unfaithful wife. Unfaithful wife. Same word that was used for unfaithful wife of breaking faith. Remember, breaking faith is between each other, and you break that, you're breaking faith with me. So he's saying, speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, any party whose wife has gone astray, she's left the path and has broken faith with him, in that another man has had carnal relations with her, be unbeknown to her husband, and she keeps secret the fact that she has defiled herself without being forced, and there is no witness against her. This is a woman who has gone astray, okay, and has broken faith with her husband. She has done a treacherous act. Now, is this intentional or is this unintentional?
Intentional.
It's intentional. So now we see that breaking faith can be unintentional and it can also be intentional. Okay. So this is intentional. Okay. And she said that she had went with another man. Carnal relations mean this carnality right here is him putting seed in her. What she did is she laid down with her field and the man has put seed. He spreaded seed inside of her land. Okay. Then it says it was unbeknown to her husband. Okay. So when I looked in the Hebrew, this unbeknown right here means it's out of his sight, meaning he didn't have no clue whatsoever. And it wasn't saying at this in particular time. What it's talking about is it uses the word olam. And olam means a time in a distant past or a distant future that you can't see. So this is completely out of his reality. He doesn't even recognize it. So it could have been 6 months ago. It could have been a year ago. It could have been a certain amount of time. You don't know. He says, but she's kept it secret. So it's the act itself is unknown. Okay, it's unbeknown to him, which could have been months or years, right? It could be any time. It's not just, well, in the 6 months or the last week. It could be years. Okay. Then it says, and she's kept it secret. So she's doing her part. So two things are happening. The act itself is unknown to him, and also she's keeping it a secret. She's been hiding this fact that she has defiled herself without being forced. Okay. She wasn't forced. She wasn't raped or nothing. Okay. And it says there's no witnesses against her. So she thinks she got away. Okay. By this secret. So breaking faith, listen to me, intentional treachery sometimes is hidden because we hide it. Okay. She's hiding it. We look at her, well, she's unfaithful. She's an adulterer, right? That's what we like to focus on. The focus is the Most High is telling us about something that can be hidden and put in secret. It's secret. The fact of your treachery has been hidden. Okay. Because it also talks about, let me put it right here, that this can be unknown. It could be unbeknown. It could be secret. It's a defilement. So there's a treachery that's intentional that you and I can hide. And we don't believe that someone's going to find out. Well, the Most High tells us that that same treachery that you have towards one another is the same treachery that this woman is having towards her husband, but hers is intentional. Hers is intentional. It's done on purpose. So this ma'al right here, you can see it again. That's the ma'al. I put it in Hebrew, not because I know you know Hebrew, because I wanted to show you that that same word that was used in the one between a man and a woman towards any human being can also too be the same one as be used between a woman and her husband. Okay, so this woman has gone astray. She's created this, done this act of treachery. And the Most High said that this can be hidden, not for the sake of just the woman, it can be hidden. Okay, but it says, but a fit of jealousy comes over him. Remember, it could be within 6 months, a year, 2 years, it could be whatever. No particular time. It could be 10 years. It could be 20 years. Okay, and he is wrought up. He's worked up about his wife. Okay, about the wife who has defiled herself. Or if a fit of jealousy comes over him and he is wrought about his wife, although she has not defiled herself. So what is the Most High telling us? The Most High is telling us that this woman, this man can have this fit of jealousy over a fit. He can have it over jealousy over his wife that has defiled herself, or he can have it over a wife who has not defiled herself. So why is y'all telling us this? There's something about jealousy that is very strong, okay? And when it talks about this man having a fit of jealousy that comes over him, this word fit right here is mistranslated, okay? It's really talking about the ruach, okay? It's called the ruach, which is the wind or the spirit, okay? The spirit of jealousy, but the ruach is wind. So what happens is over time, there might be a wind, a real hard wind of jealousy coming, okay? And during that season that he has his jealousy, all of a sudden he get out of nowhere, just like when the wind comes out of nowhere, this raging wind comes out of nowhere, he begins to feel his jealousy, not over his wife, like he's jealous of her. He's not jealous of her. He's jealous about her. It's something that he sees or he feels about her that Most High will give to him. And it will let him know about her treachery or whatever he believes to be the treachery. She might have been innocent. And this jealousy is used. Jealousy here is used in order to make things right. If she hasn't done anything, and his rage, because he's in a rage, is to make things right. He might have this jealousy because of how he's been treating her, because when he brings her to the priest, she would receive a curse if she did what was wrong. If she did, in which her stomach would swell up, she'd always walk around with a swollen stomach, or and inside of her leg within her private region will be rotted away. She would never be able to have children again. It will be destroyed. The ability for her to be able to have seed to come out of her body again will be destroyed because of her defilement. Okay, so the Most High will destroy the ability for her to be able to carry a seed again because she has had another man put seed in her husband's land, which is her. Okay, so if she was innocent, though, then the Most High would bless her and he'd give her a child. She would be blessed by the Most High if she was found to be innocent of not being defiled. So the problem wasn't with her, the problem was with her husband. There's a problem in the home. Okay. And the Most High would say, well, now that you found her not to be guilty of defilement, then I'm going to bless her with a child. So in order for that child to come home, to come to the world, the Most High is going to use that jealousy to bring about a child. The Most High will use the jealousy to destroy the opportunity for a child from her. So you could be blessed by a child, or you can have your ability to be destroyed. I want to bring this out right quick. I want you all to hear what I'm saying to you. The only reason why something or someone is in your life is only for two reasons. Reason number one is to bring life. And the second part, the other reason, is to bring death. And that is to destroy. This one here is to teach and to help grow. That's the only two reasons why something or someone is in your life. Those are the two things. And between these two is what you will call degrees. So you have to evaluate and see why someone or something is in your life. They're only in your life for these two reasons. They're either there to bring life to you and to help you grow, or they're there to destroy you and to bring death to you. And it's not going to be, it might not be sudden. They might not be sitting around trying to, poison your food. They might be there on a very incremental level to destroy you. They're not there to help you. Okay. So those are the only two reasons why someone's in your life. And you got to find out what it is. Okay. Because obviously, and I'm not just talking about a person, I'm talking about a thing. You got to understand that's what this is about. It's about life and death. Because jealousy here can either bring life to you or it can bring death to you. As we can see, that's the shift that the Most High is saying, because we understand that Yah tells us that through mashal, which here this word mishle is dealing with Proverbs, but it's called from our word mashal. So it's making a comparison. So let's make a comparison. He says that there is cruelty of fury. So if someone's really angry and they're really enraged, right? There's cruelty. They're cruel in their fury. He says the overflowing of anger. That's when you're cruel. He says, but who can withstand jealousy? Who can withstand jealousy? Who can withstand jealousy? So why is he mentioning this to us to make the comparison? Because jealousy is beyond cruelty. Jealousy will make you put somebody down. Jealousy will cause you to destroy. Okay? Why? For your Elohim Yahweh is a consuming fire. A jealous Elohim. That word jealousy is called quinah. Quina, forget my handwriting. Ugh. Quina, Quina, okay? Or it could be qua, na, depends on how you say it, or it could be quina, okay? Depends on how you're saying it and what context is being used, but the same three letters are still the same, a kof, a noon, and a hey. What this means, everyone, is that the Most High is like a bird, okay? Not that he is a bird, he's like a bird, an eagle that's protecting. So this jealousy is very protective. That's what the Most High is. And what is he protective over? Okay. First of all, he's protective over his name. That's what he's protective over. That's why he says that I'm going to bring fire, because I'm protective. I'm protective over my name. I'm going to guard that. But also too, listen, for you must not worship any other Elohim, because Yahweh, whose name is Quanah, his name is jealous. So the spirit of jealousy that was coming upon this husband is from Yahweh. That's where it's from, in order to bring justice, to bring either a child or to destroy the ability for this person who has been unfaithful in breaking faith and who has been hiding their secrets. So Most High is telling us that the way that I'm going to deal with my people out of jealousy is with fire. That's how I'm going to do it. You can look in Psalms 50, it tells I'm coming in a raging fire. You can look in Isaiah 66, he's coming in a storm with a raging fire. Okay, when he came to Mount Sinai, it was in a raging fire. Yah is jealous for his name, because his name is jealous. He is a jealous Elohim. Yah tells us in our Torah portion this week, I need you to speak to Aharon and his sons, and thus you shall bless the people or the sons of Israel and say to them, Yohei Wahe bless you and protect you. That's that jealousy. Yahweh, deal kindly and graciously with you. That's Canaan. With you, and Yahweh bestow divine favor on you and grant you peace. And thus they shall link my name with the people of Israel. That linking right there is to put my name upon Israel. Okay, and I will bless them. They call this mistakenly the Aaronic blessing. Okay, but it didn't say just to Aaron, is to him and his sons. These are the individuals that are responsible for putting Yah's name on Yah's people. Okay. But we also see that the Most High has put his name on us, irregardless to Aaron and his sons. And you can find this in our names. Like, for example, Yasha, Yahu. That's Yah's name. Yahu, right there. Yermi, Yahu. That's Yah's name right there. Eli, Yahu. So we have Yah's name. We have his name. But unfortunately, at this time, we don't have the priesthood, the Kohanim, to convey this blessing on us. I know you got some people. I've been around a whole bunch of people would say this blessing. And they would say that they have a right to put this blessing on you. The fact of the matter is they're not from this family. So that's what they would call falsehood. Yah's going to let us know, okay, look, I'm going to get right to it. Yah doesn't want us to go and be misled, everybody. If someone's speaking this blessing on you and they're not from that family, they're not from Aaron and his sons, for the Leviim family, from the Kohanim, then that what they're telling you is falsehood, and that's a lie. So when they read this, Vayoreka, Vayishmareka, Vayisam, Yahweh Eloheka, Yakareka, Konuka, when they read that and they read it in Hebrew and they're telling this over you, and then you're sitting in the background like, okay, I got the blessing of the Most High, that's a lie. And you know why I know it's a lie? Because I told this lie in my former days. I used to read this blessing over people because the people that I was around was reading this blessing. I thought it was okay. Until I found out that I'm not a Leviim. I found out that I don't have registry. I found out that I haven't been authorized by Yah to even say this. I confess that to you today. I've confessed it before to other people, so it's not new for me. I'm not, I'm ashamed of it, but it's just the truth. I think you can appreciate the honesty. I'm not trying to play a game with you. I'm not trying to butter you up to make you think that you're in a better position with Yah than what you really are. If we're going to be with each other and we're going to be, you're going to be spending your time with me, I'm not going to spend my time to lie to you and tell you that I'm going to put the Aaronic blessing on you, and all of a sudden you think that Yah is with you. That's a lie. This is contradictory to what we've been taught. The Yah says that while you're in the lands of your enemies, I'm going against you. Do you understand? And that when you say to link my name, when I'm going to put my blessing on you, well, to protect you. If I'm protected, then why am I eating unclean food? Huh? Well, is Yah dealing kindly with me? He said he turned his face against us. So is that Yah's kindness and his graciousness? No. Listen, what you would call, when you put a child in timeout, you're in timeout right now. So you can think about what it is that our ancestors and we have done to the Most High. So we don't need to be replacing what he said with our thoughts and the things that come out of our mind. Like he said, these prophets are prophesying lies out of their own minds. And they're telling you out of their own dreams and what they think that's right. So we're not going to trivialize the Most High, and we're going to minimize his holiness. And I'm going to replace myself with Aaron and his sons and say that I'm going to put the blessing of Yahweh on you so I can make you feel better about your life. Is Yah's name linked on us? Yes, it is. Am I saying no? No. Yashayahu tells us it is. But let Yah be the one to tell us. See, he's letting us know you don't have to play like you're Israel. Just be Israel. Don't play Israel. Be Israel. Don't try to reenact everything. Be what I told you. I will say to the north, give back, and to the south, don't withhold. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. All who are linked to my name. I'm asking Aaron and his sons to put my name upon you. Aaron and his sons are not around. So do you get his name on? Yes, you're linked to my name by the covenant, whom I have created, formed, and made for my glory, like he told us in Jeremiah. I've caused you to be a people for me, to build me a name and be a source of praise and honor for me. I linked you to my name. I came and got you and brought you out and gave you the covenant that you broke. And I haven't broken it because if I did, I would have to destroy you all. I linked you to my covenant, thereby linking you to my name. That's the reason why I gave you my name. Yo-hey-why-hey. That's the reason why I introduced you back to my name while you're in your exile. Not so you can create a priesthood to say that you're okay now and you got my blessings. That's not true. But your name is linked to me. My name is linked to you. You're linked by my name. So don't feel bad because Aaron and his sons are not putting a blessing on. Don't feel bad because Akika Dawid said that there ain't no blessing coming on you. Our Torah portion is talking about breaking faith, people. And how do we break faith? We saw that we break it with each other by breaking against the Most High. We saw that a wife can break faith with her husband by being sneaky and secretive and hiding things. Defilement, which is intentional, what you can't get past. You will not get past intentional treachery. I found not our Torah portion, I found this somewhere else. I found this in the book of Malachi, which is talking about breaking faith, because that's our theme. Breaking faith. Yehuda broke faith. The question was asked in the book of Malachi, chapter number 2, verse number 10. Have we not all one Father? That's the question. That's the question we have for us standing before us today. Is not Yahweh our Father? Did not one Elohim create us? There wasn't many Elohims, there's one. We have one Father, we have one Elohim. Why do we break faith with one another? This is a question that was asked by Malachi. Profaning the covenant of our ancestors. because they broke faith. And how did they break faith? How did they break the covenant of our ancestors? You see? So now we see that we're breaking faith with one another, as Yahweh says, if a man does this or a woman does this, but these men are talking to each other. Why have we done this? All of us. We're doing this to each other all the time. And when we do this, we're profaning the covenant, which is connected to Yah, which is linked to Yahweh, to his name. So breaking faith is not only what we understood as breaking faith with Yah, is profaning the covenant of our ancestors that was given out Mount Sinai by Yahweh. That's why he says you're breaking faith with me, because it's connected to the agreement that I made with your ancestors. So if you're in this agreement, if you're in this covenant, you can't profane it by breaking faith with one another. So you're profaning Yah and you're profaning the covenant that was made with our ancestors. This word is used in terms of treachery. This is another type of treachery, which is called bagad. 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 Sound like bagad, okay? But bagad. And bagad is a different type of treachery, okay? Listen to this one. This one here has this idea about clothing, because that's what the word bagad means. So when you talk about treachery and you talk about deceit, you're talking about covering something. Okay. Remember the woman, she hid something. She was hiding it. This one has to do with clothing it, wrapping yourself in something, in some type of clothing. Okay. To keep a secret. That's what's underneath, what's covered by the clothing. So in the case of us, it would be somebody that would be able to put on what you would call a show. We would put on our face, you know, like a woman who gets dressed up and she puts a whole bunch of makeup on, and that's not who she really is. You know, a man, you know, dressing up and pretending to be somebody that they're not. It's the secret. It's the front that everybody puts on. And it's done through clothing, just like what we found in the garden. When they went against the Most High, the first thing they did is they saw their nakedness and they tried to cover it. They tried to clothe it. And that has to do with deceit. The book of Malachi is about deceit. It's about covering yourself. So the Most High is saying, Yehuda, you've broken faith with me. This people of praise. They were a group of people that were operating out of deceit. They put the act on as if they're really with Yah, but they're covering it. They're covering it with their clothing. They're all probably dressed in beautiful royal purples with gold, and they look really good, and ornaments and everything that he says. They got on the right perfumes and scarves and brocades and walking around in the kingdom as if everything is okay. But Yehuda has broken faith. Praise has broken faith. They have violated and profaned the covenant. Abhorrent things have been done in Israel and Yerushalayim, for Yehuda has profaned what is kadosh too, and desired by Elohim. They profaned what was kadosh to Yahweh and desired by Yahweh, Elohim, and they've married daughters of alien gods. They married women who had other gods. One of the key signatures to a person who's breaking faith with the covenant with the Most High is going and marrying women and daughters of alien gods. Remember, we said earlier where the Most High says, bring my sons and my daughters. There's other so-called gods out here that are not gods at all that have sons and daughters. These alien gods are called this guy, or this guy, or this guy, or this guy. You understand? All these other different names. These are the people. This guy. They have sons and daughters. This guy right here, this God has sons and daughters. This one too. So your treachery and your clothing and your deceit, okay, is found in the fact that you are going to marry somebody else. You're not going to go and get them or bring them to Yah and say, okay, well, this is what we do. You're going to go marry somebody else. And their children. And this is the reason why the Most High says, you've broken faith with me. And not only were they doing this, instead of marrying the daughters of Yah, these men are marrying the daughters of other Elohims. Breaking faith with Yahweh. But you ask, because of what? Why are you tripping? Why are you saying this? Because Elohim is a witness between you and the wife of your youth. Talking about the wives that they had. They were leaving their wives and marrying other women from these other gods. And they were doing it in a very deceitful manner. Like, I'm going to put this woman away. Not because she's not following Yah, but I'm going to put her away is because I want to be with the other woman. And I'm willing to go and be with her and her God. So I'm going to put one of the daughters away from Yisrael, so you can see in our Torah portion about the wife that was treacherous. Remember, we just saw her, the wife that was treacherous who went and cheated. Now you can see that the men are being just as treacherous as the wife. These husbands are treating their wives this way. They're mistreating the wife of their youth. They have a covert operation going on. So they're saying stuff that's not true about the woman so they can get rid of her to get another wife. Of whom you've broken faith with, though she is your partner in covenant, its spouse. They broke covenant. That's why they said, why are you breaking the covenant of our ancestors? So men are just as deceitful, as covert, as a woman. See, a lot of people say, well, it didn't say that a man will go astray. The man never goes astray. What he does is he operates differently. He'll find a reason why to get rid of his wife. So he can go be with another woman who he thinks is prettier than his wife. Or she's younger than his wife. This is the reason why the Most High says, the wife of your youth. You've broken faith with. Why? Because she's getting older. So let's get rid of her and let's use some excuses to get rid of her. She ain't moving fast enough. She's not, let's get rid of her. And hasn't he made them? This is what Malachi says. Hasn't he made them one flesh, having a residue, a remnant of the spirit to him, and why one? And why one? He's seeking a seed of Elohim. So let me break this down. I want you to understand that we can read the words of the text and we can come up with all kind of, understandings. But from the Hebrew understanding, everyone, I want you to understand what breaking faith truly is. Okay. Breaking faith with one another is that Yah has made us one. He made us a Akkad. And what he did was he had a residue, a remnant, a leftover of the spirit when he made the woman. So when the Most High made a man, which we understand, we learned earlier today that Adam is both male and female. Okay, so it's male, as a car, and it's female. Okay, he added those two together. Okay, when he made them of one spirit, that spirit is called the Nefesh. Okay, the Nefesh, what Yah did was when he made the male, he had given him some of the root of the Nefesh. He gave him some of this. Okay, so he put some of it inside of the male because we know that the Nefesh is feminine. Okay, it's feminine. You guys do know that, males, that you have a feminine spirit, okay? So we have a feminine, I don't know if I spelled that right, but we have a feminine spirit. The feminine spirit that we have, okay, the Most High took part of it and put it inside of us. And what was left over, he put it inside of the woman. Do you understand? So when it says, and hasn't he made them one? And they put flesh in there. In English, this is all inserted, okay? The word flesh is not in the text. That's not in the text. He said he made them one, okay? I made you one. And he talking about one flesh. They put this here. I made you one. I made you a cod. I made you unified. So what I do in order to unify something, what I did was I split the spirit. And I gave some of it to the male, and I gave the other part to the female. That's why Adam is both male and female. They're together. I made them one. And he asked the question, why one? Why one? Because Elohim is seeking a seed of Elohim. And he's really talking to the children of Israel. When Israel takes their seed, okay, that comes out of their body, and they join it to another Elohim through the daughters of another Elohim, what they've done is they've literally created a mixture, which the Most High says that I don't want no mixtures. I want it to be pure. And what I'm talking about is not pure of race. I'm not talking about pure of race. What I'm talking about is pure of soul. I'm talking about the purity of the seed that I blessed, because your seed is a blessed seed. So what you've done is you've mixed my blessed seed with that which wasn't blessed. You understand? You put my seed, my blessed seed, in soil that is foreign. So when you put my seed inside of a foreign soil, it's not going to grow up the way that it should. I want the seeking of one seed for Elohim because I want you to bring that child up to give me praise, because I want my name in that child's mouth. Yes, Lucas.
Isn't that implicitly race, though? Given that
No.
it's only Israel that is blessed.
No, listen, Israel is beyond, we're an eternal people. We're eternal. So when the Most High blessed the seed, remember, Abraham had, he had a seed, right? Where did his first seed go? It went to Yishmael. That's Abraham's first seed. That's the strength of Abraham, correct? And he put that seed inside of an Egyptian woman. Then he asked the Most High in chapter number 17 of Genesis, let him be the one. May he live before you. Yah says no. Was he not of Abraham's seed? Yes, he was. Most High said, no, Sarah, that's the one. Right? So within that child, when Abraham's seed went into that soil, okay, Yah didn't only bless the seed of Abraham, but he blessed the seed of that Sarah, the womb of Sarah, the soil. Therefore, whatever came out of her, which was Yitzchak, that's blessed. And that's why they started laughing, because you got to laugh when you think about it. Okay. Israel is an eternal seed. We're eternal. You can find this in the book of Isaiah, and I'll show it to you after class, that he says that you guys are the blessed seed. You're the blessed seed. Okay. And Israel has been scattered all over the world. So we can't say, well, it's just these black people, or it's just these white people. It has nothing to do with race. It's eternal. Okay. And eternity has nothing to do with biological in that sense. Okay. So the seed that Yah has is from him. It's the seed that Yah says that is going to be raised up into praise and worship Yah. And this is the reason why he tells them to be guarded. I need you to guard your spirit, not only for yourself, but also that you protect your wife, meaning Shamar, guard that spirit. Don't break faith with the wife of your youth. Don't break faith with her because it's treachery. Why? For I hate divorce, which is, I put there, sending away. Says Yohewahe, the Elohim of Israel. I hate it. And him who covers his clothing with violence. So we understand now there's a connection between the clothing of beged with violence. Meaning, for example, somebody would kill someone, right? And when they kill them, they would take off their cloak. And then they would wear their cloak and put it on themselves and act as if they just didn't take this off of a dead person that they killed. They're acting the whole time in a very covert way that it was theirs from the beginning. They're acting like they didn't commit a crime. That's what the Most High is talking about. So for us, the way the Most High wants us to look at treachery and breaking faith is like someone killing someone and taking off their cloak or their jacket and put it on and act as if they never killed the person. You understand? Says Yahweh Zavaoth, therefore be guarded your spirit and don't break faith. Breaking faith for Yah is like going through a process of sending away through divorce. I hate it. I don't like it. Finally, I want to talk about what they would call this idea of kanuka. We've been talking about breaking faith. Now we need to talk about what it means to be dedicated. That's the other side of breaking faith, is dedication. Kunuka. You probably have heard it said that we celebrate Kanuka, and I think they do that and they associate that with the time in which the Maccabean period where they dedicated the temple, and they call it Kanuka, right? Or I think it's in the Christmas time, in the Christmas season of the pagans of Christianity, the Jews celebrate Hanukkah. This word Hanukkah comes from this word Kanuka. So you can see right here, Hanukkah, but it's really called Kanuka. Okay, so they got the Hanukkah and they got the 9-branched menorah, which there is no 9 branches for menorah, 7. But the true name of it is called Kanuka. And Kanuka is this idea of dedication. Yah did not tell Israel to celebrate as one of the festivals Hanukkah. You do not celebrate Hanukkah. You can remember it, but it's not one of his 7 Moedim. It's not a Moed that he gave to Israel. And again, he says, don't add or take away what I'm saying. So Kanuka is part of it. We saw dedication in our Torah portion through several ideas. And I want to discuss those things since we've been talking about breaking faith. And let's talk about dedication. So the second half of this is dedication. We understand that one can be dedicated. They can dedicate yourself. What we found in our Torah portion, you can dedicate yourself. A parent can dedicate one of their children. Okay. And of course, Yahweh can dedicate a person, okay, to his service. They can be dedicated to the Most High. So, but that dedication comes through this idea of what you would say an utterance, to make a vow. And a vow is what you would understand as a solemn promise to do something. So a vow is spoken. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about a vow, or about an utterance, because something comes out of your mouth. One of the things that we understand that's found in the book of Ecclesiastes, okay, is where Shlomo has told us that he says, keep your mouth from being rash, because often when we talk, remember, much talking can be a sign of transgression. Okay. So I need you to keep your mouth from being rash, meaning being quick and just being, not thinking, and let not your throat be quick to bring forth speech before Elohim. For Elohim is in the Shamayim, he's in the heaven, and you are on earth. That is why your words should be few. Okay. It's because who you're talking to. Okay. When you're talking to Yahweh, understand that Yah's not looking for long, drawn out prayers. And one of the things he's not looking for is for you to utter anything out your mouth that you're not willing to keep. Okay. So when you make a vow, when you make an utterance to the Most High, which we're going to talk about what a vow really is to Elohim, do not delay to fulfill it. So if you say something, you got to fulfill it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Why fools? Because fools are the ones who speak a lot. Fools are known by the multitude of their words. They have nothing but a whole bunch of words to say. That's all they do is talk, 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 talk. This is the reason why he's telling us, let your words be few, because if you're not talking in few words, that's indicative of transgression. And then also too, you'll be recognized before the Most High as being a fool. Okay. So because Yah is the king, and he's the king of the universe and universes, and everything you see, he made. The wind is your breathing. So our conversation with Yah has to be very minimal. Okay. So what you vow, you must fulfill as an utterance. It is better not for you to make a vow at all than for you to vow and not fulfill it. It's better that you don't even say nothing at all. Because if you don't fulfill what you're saying, then the Most High says through Shalomo, don't let your mouth bring you into what? To sin. And don't plead before the Malach, and he's talking about a messenger, that it was an error. Okay. And they got that word Malach there, but guess what? There's no word in some translations to talk about the temple messenger. There is no messenger at the temple. This is literally saying that the words that you and I actually utter, I want you to hear what I'm about to tell you. The words that you utter and I utter that come out of our mouth is being brought to a Malach, and the Malach is taking your words to the Most High. A Malach is a messenger. So when you utter your message, it goes through a filter. The filter is one of Yah's messengers would take what you said and bring it to him and said, this is what Dawid said. Dawid said this. Document it, write it down. Dawid said that there's only one Elohim. Document it, write it down. Are you making this up, Dawid? Huh? Are you making up what it says in the book of Malachi that I've heard those who were speaking and I wrote down what they said and wrote their name down in the book of Zikaron, of the book of remembrance? I heard what they said. How'd you hear it? He got messengers that hear what we say and they write down what you say. You can't plead ignorance when you're the one who's doing the talking. You can't say, oh, it was a mistake. I didn't mean that. So you say one thing, he delivers a message, and all of a sudden say, wait a minute. And I've made this mistake before, people. Wait a minute, I didn't mean to say that. Let me take it back. That means that you said something you didn't think it out. You just talking to talk, right? You think it's okay just to talk to the king of the universe and make messages and say things, and all of a sudden you come back, oh, wait a minute, I made a mistake. Wait. You think it operates like that? That's how you don't have no fear. You're just running your mouth and you're saying things and you're just blabbing. What you don't understand who's sitting on the throne? Is that what it is? But you fear Elohim, else Elohim might be angered by your talk, and he'll destroy your possessions. I put everything in here in red so you can get the idea of what I'm saying. If you're doing all this out of your mouth, you're sinning when you talk too much. And you didn't think about what you said, and you can't come back and say it was an error, because you're going to make Yahweh angry and he's going to destroy your possessions. Because you thought it was okay to utter anything before the king of the universes. You see? So we have to be careful. You can't say things. You can't say that you're a Levim. You can't say, listen, he's not playing with us. When he talks about dedication, there was this idea of what they call a Nazarite, which is a Nazir. The Nazir is one who is dedicated to the Most High. And here you can do this yourself. You can say, I want to be a Nazir. Speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, if any men or women, like we saw, any men or women who make a mistake against any of their fellow human beings, here he says, any men or women who explicitly utters a Nazarite vow to set themselves apart for Yahweh. You can do that. You can be a Nazarite if you're a man or woman. You can dedicate yourself to the Most High. They shall abstain from wine and other intoxicants, and they shall not drink vinegar or wine or any other intoxicant. Neither shall they drink anything in which grapes have been steeped, nor eat grapes fresh or dried throughout their term. There's a term for dedication. As a Nazarite, they may not eat anything that is obtained from the grapevine, even seeds or skins, which earlier this week I talked about how it's kind of like how the Most High told us not to go into our vineyards on the 7th year. And they would let their hair grow. They wouldn't trim it. They wouldn't cut it. Just let it grow. Abstinence is not a bad thing. Abstinence from wine is not a bad thing. What you're really abstaining from is your joy. You're abstaining from joy. You're abstaining from this will make you happy. You're abstaining from those things that give you glee. You're abstaining from these things. That's what wine has to do. It has to do with joy. It has to do with celebration. What you're doing is you're setting yourself apart and you're dedicating yourself for this time of being with Yah, okay, for a certain term. Now, within that term, there are some things that need to be considered, okay? There's a term. There's some considerations that one has to understand when they're kadosh to Yahweh, because that's what they're becoming. The actual Nazir, the Nazarite, is becoming just like the high priest in a sense, because they're the same words that is saying kadosh to Yahweh is the same words that are on the priest's gold plate on his head called kadosh to Yahweh. This is what's on the priest's head right here. This word right here is kadosh to Yahweh. And it has Kodosh, of course. I can't write it out right quick. Kodosh to Yahweh is on the gold plate that's on the high priest's head. So in this sense, they don't have that gold plate, but that crown on their head and those locks. That's what's on their head. Locks, like dreadlocks, are on their head and they can't cut their hair, just like you wouldn't with a grapevine. You can't cut it. Okay. So they're Kodosh to Yahweh. They're dedicated to the Most High for this opportunity to spend time with him, but there's risk. The risk is that a person can lose this kadosh to Yahweh, and that term can be broken by the death of someone who died next to them or in their house. It would break their kadoshness to the Most High. There's a risk that if someone did die, like your mother, your father, or your brother, your sister, or anybody who's close to you, you can't go near them. So you got to understand what that means. There's a risk that if something did happen, you would actually lose all of your time that you were kadosh to Yahweh. Okay, then you got to start all over again. You got to understand that, you got to be able to afford to do this Nazarite vow, because it comes with doves for sin offering and for olah offering, a burnt offering. It comes with rams. Okay, so you have to be able to afford this. So you can't make this if you can't afford it. Okay, because it says you got to pay the vow that you made. Okay, so you can lose an opportunity to be with family and friends. Also, too, the risk is that when you have those festivals, everybody else is drinking, you're not able to drink. Okay, so as a woman, you got to understand, you're going to have all your hair cut off, all of it. And you're not going to do like they do today, where you say that you're Nazarite and you cut off your hair and throw it on a barbecue pit and think that you're a Nazarite. Okay. There's some rewards with it, being dedicated to the Most High. You're set apart for the Most High. You'll be able to spend time with him. He considers you to be kadosh from that moment. That means that you're very special to the Most High at that moment. Everything that you do and touch will be regarded as kadosh. And it's really a time of great intimacy that you have with the Most High. So the person who was doing this Nazarite vow had to be able to understand how much time they wanted to do it, because if they said it was a year, it had to be a year. It could be broken, then you have to start all over again. If it was 5 years, the person had to be able to do that. So there's those considerations that you have to understand. So in terms of dedication to the Most High, as that, he's saying this is the things that you need to understand, and you have to be able to perform them, because if you don't, I'll destroy you. A parent can actually cause one of their children to be a Nazir. This was the case of our judge called Shemuel. And he made this vow. She made this vow, talking about his mother. Her name was called Kana, okay, like Kanuka, but Kana, and it means to be merciful and gracious. She made this vow. She made an utterance before the Most High. Yohe Yahweh Zavaoth, if you will look upon the suffering of your maidservant and will remember me and not forget your maidservant, and if you will grant your maidservant a male child, I will dedicate him to Yahweh for all the days of his life. So she gives this vow to Most High, and she vows for this boy for the eternity of his life. His whole entire life was to be dedicated to Most High. This boy didn't ask to be dedicated to the Most High. Okay? He didn't ask. His mother asked. She made the vow on him. And no razor shall come and shall ever touch his head. So she understood the Nazirite vow. Okay? Because that's part of a Nazirite vow. No. So his hair was super long too. Okay? So you can't touch him ever. Why? Never cut his hair. Why? Because. Can't touch his head. Why? For his life. Why? Because he's a Nazirite. As a Nazirite, you can't cut your hair during that term. He had a life term of being a Nazirite. So when they call Christ a Nazirite, we got to ask the questions. Was his hair ever cut? Did he ever drink any wine? Did his mother ever vow him? Did we ever hear a vow? Did his father vow him? Did he vow himself? Or did the Most High vow him? There's evidence as to whether the Most High vowed him or not, and we'll find out what they are. And when she had weaned him, this is talking about the mother, Kanah, when she weaned Shemuel, she took him up with her, along with her 3 bulls, an ephah of flour, and a jar of wine. Now, often we think, okay, well, we just read over this. It's not a big deal. We understand that Israel deals with sacrifices, and they got the flour, and they got the bull, and they got the wine. Guess what? She can afford it. She knew what the risk was. She can afford it. Okay. And when she did this, she brought these things. And although the boy was still very young, she brought him to the house of Yahweh at Shiloh. That's where the temple of Yahweh is located at that time. Okay. So, and by the way, Shemuel is from the Leviim family. He is from the family. You can find it in Chronicles, I believe, chapter number 6. This is the Torah. This is the Torah. Now, I need all of us to understand something. This is the Torah of the Nazirite. This is the instructions. Except that those who vow an offering to Yahweh of what they can afford beyond their Nazirite requirements must do exactly according to the vow that they have made according to the Torah of their separation. I put this here because I want us to understand that you and I do not have the ability to do the Torah of a Nazirite. Why? Number 1, because you can't afford it. Number 2, because you don't have any bulls. Number 3, because you don't have any of the requirements that's supposed to be brought. Number 3, because there's no Levitical priesthood to officiate your set apartness. I could talk about on and on and on. Okay? So anyone who's claiming to be a Nazirite, you know now that they are lying. And guess what? You and I might say, well, they're just trying to do the best they can. Yah's not going to be mad at them. They're trying to be spiritual. They're trying to move in Yah's direction. Yah's going to put them to death. You know why? Because you went and you took what he said and you changed it to make it what you wanted to say. That's what Yah's telling us. While you're in your exile, don't you get, froggy and trying to create other things. I put you in exile because I want to remind you that you didn't do what I told you. There's a Nazirite from Yahweh himself. There was a certain man from Zorah, which is a place of Zazarat, of the stock of Dan, whose name was Manoah, meaning to rest. His wife was infertile and had borne no children. A Malach of Yahweh appeared to the woman and said to her, you are infertile and have borne no children, but you shall conceive and bear a son. Sounds like the Christian narrative, but they don't give us the name here of this Malach, but in Christianity, name him Gabriel. And they don't give us the name of the woman here. So they turn around in the New Testament and call her Mary. You see, and now they told us his name, they're going to bear a son. And so they give in the New Testament the name Emmanuel, but here we have no name for a son. He told her, now be careful not to drink wine or other intoxicants. So we see that this Malach is delivering the Torah of Yahweh from the Shamayim. So Yah's Torah hasn't changed for the Malach. There's no additions, no subtractions, or to eat anything impure. telling her not to eat or drink anything, because now this child is a Nazarite for the Most High, and don't eat anything impure. For you are going to conceive and bear a son. Let no razor touch his head. These are the instructions. Why? Because he's a Nazarite. For this boy is to be a Nazarite to Yahweh from the womb on. So Yah's called this boy to be a Nazarite. See, so we got the mother, Canaan, who she's named, who says, and she named her son Shemuel. She asked for him to be vowed, and now we hear this Malach bringing a message from Yahweh, as he's Yahweh's messenger, and he said he shall be the first to deliver Israel from the Philistines, and then of course his name is Shimshon. That's the Torah. That's the Torah. So the Torah for us is not this religious idea. The Torah for us is to follow the instructions. Then Manoah said, may your words soon come true. What rules? So within the Torah, you have what they call rules. He gave them the instructions, but I'm looking for the rules. The rules there is called the mishpat. What is the mishpatim? What are the mishpatim that shall be observed or shall be guarded for the boy? The Malach of Yahweh said to Manoah, the woman must abstain. Remember, we said earlier that abstinence is not a bad thing, especially when you talk about the things of the Most High. He says she must abstain from all the things against which I warned her. So the instructions are there, but the rulings is about the things. So I told you what to do, and then I got to give you more specific instructions about what those things are. So I told you about the wine. I told you about the grapes. I told you don't cut the hair. I told you all those things on what don't cut, the verb, don't cut. Okay? Don't eat. And then the rulings, these are the things about the impurity. I told you that. You need to understand those things. So the Most High is letting us know abstinence is okay, but the Mishpatim is giving to warn you. I'm going to give you instructions. I'm warning you, and I'm telling you what it is. Okay? So we see that. We see that Yah does this. So the Torah with Yah is not different from the Torah than anyone else on the earth is following. She must not eat anything that comes from a grapevine or drink wine or any intoxicant or eat anything impure. She must observe, meaning shamar. She must guard all that I've commanded her. So we got Mishpatim, we got the Torah, we got the instructions, we got the shamar. You need to guard what I said. This is what we need to learn, okay? There are 12 princes that were mentioned in our Torah portion. You know, we went over their names last week. We talked about what they represent. You know, Nachshon, he's of Yehuda. He's supposed to be the one that is enamored with the Most High. He's mesmerized by the Most High and so forth. He's enchanted. He was the first one. They were supposed to bring offerings and lift up offerings to Yahweh for 12 days. Every last one of the princes, there's 12 of them. Okay, and he gives their names. And you can find those names in chapter number, I think, 5. I think it's in chapter number 5. Chapter 5, and then also too, we find here in chapter number 7. So you'll find their names there. And then you read it over and over again. They would bring, you know, this much incense. They're supposed to bring a silver plate. They're supposed to bring this much mincha. They're supposed to bring this. They're supposed to bring that. They're supposed to bring the incense. They're supposed to bring the offering. They're supposed to bring the bulls. They're supposed to bring the lambs. They're supposed to bring the sin offering. They're supposed to bring the olah. They're supposed to bring the peace offerings. 12 princes. And that's the kanukah. That's dedication. The princes also brought the dedication offering. I got these words offering in highlighting that green because I want you to understand something. Hopefully you're following what I'm saying. Okay, that there's offerings for dedication. There's offerings for Nazarite. So for the altar upon that is being anointed. So when Yah says the day that he had the altar done, he said, now that you're doing this, I want to be able to join the princes of Israel to the altar. They're the leaders that I call, but now I'm going to use the leaders of the nation to bring their offerings. So everything that the children of Israel bring to me will be accepted because their prince is the one who brought forth this dedication offering. So where there's no dedication offering, there is no relationship. Okay, so as the princes were presenting their offerings before the altar of Yahweh, said Moshe, let them present their offerings for the dedication of the altar, one prince for each day. Okay, so these people over in Israel, so-called Israel, They haven't had 12 princes to come to make a dedication of the altar. This is the reason why they haven't opened up their temple yet. That's why they're afraid. Because they don't have princes from every last one of the tribes. So what they've been doing is they're going around and they're going to all these different places and they're trying to find and create another group. See, so instead of them accepting the limbas and all them and bringing them over and saying, okay, well, you guys are part of it. So we got you down. So you guys are going to be offering. They're not doing that. That's why they have an Oliah or Oliah, where they're asking people to come from all over the place so they can make representatives for the children of Israel to substitute the true children of Israel. Okay. So these offerings have to be given in order for the temple and for the altar to be dedicated to the Most High. I told you earlier about this vow. A vow is an utterance, but it's called a nadar. Okay. And so this nadar is something that our father has made. Okay. When I talk about our father, I'm talking about Yaakov. Yaakov made a vow to the Most High. You can find this in Genesis chapter number 28. Yaakov then made a vow saying, because he made a vow, saying if Elohim exists, that's exactly what he said. He says, if Elohim exists and remains with me, protecting me on this journey that I am making and giving me bread and clothing to wear, and I return safe to my father's house, Yahweh shall be my Elohim. So our father made a vow. Okay. And this is not the end of the vow. This is just the first part of the vow. Okay. A vow is a promise. The promise here is conditioned upon Yah doing something. Our father was smart. He said, if Yahweh exists. And he remains with me. Protecting me. Ooh, he's remaining with me and he's protecting me on this journey that I'm making and giving me bread, clothing to wear. I return safe to my father's house. Yahweh shall be my Elohim. Good news, folks. I was going to tell you earlier, which I'm still going to tell you. Or I should say it differently. I was going to tell you later, but I'm going to tell you now. The children of Israel, in my opinion, should not make a vow to the Most High in their exile. The reason for this is because we can't afford it. The reason for this is because you and I can't perform what he said that was the Torah for the vow. Children of Israel should not vow the vow of a Nazirite because they are not able to perform it. The children of Israel should not say a vow that they cannot keep, especially while they're in exile, because they don't have the control. But the good thing is that our Father has already made a vow for you and me because we're the descendants of this man. When he made that vow, it allowed the Most High to be connected to us. He said, if he exists and remains with me, okay, and he's protecting me on this journey that I'm making, and he's giving me bread, clothing to wear, and I return safe to my father's house, Yahweh shall be my Elohim. He's on a journey. And he wants Yah to provide these things for him, which is food, clothing, and safety. He says, when I get there, then when I return, Yahweh shall be my Elohim. That wasn't the end of it. He says, once I make this vow, I'm going to give something. A vow is I'm making a promise. So I'm saying this, right? But I'm also looking to do something. So what he did was the stone that he was sleeping on, he said, and this stone in which I have set up as a pillar shall be Elohim's abode. Meaning it's going to be his sanctuary. So where the temple was, where Shlomo and King David and them had, this is where that was. He says, I'm going to put this pillar here, and he poured oil on it. And he says, and of all that you give me, when he returns back to his father's house, I will set aside a tenth or a tithe for you. A tithe of what? That's the 10% of whatever he has. That's why the Most High has asked for the tithe. The Most High doesn't need our tithes. Our tithes were given to the Most High through our Father. He made a vow to Yah. And because he made that vow, you and I are bound, just like Shemuel was bound to the vow that his mother made. You understand? Just like you're bound to the promises and utterances that come out your mouth. So I say that our Father has made a vow for us, and you and I don't need to make any other additional vows, because you and I are not able to afford them. We're not able to bring Yah what he says. We're not able to bring the bulls. We're not able to bring the flour. We're not able to bring it to the altar. We're not able to do any of those things. You see? We're not able to have our term. We're not able to, if the term did get messed up, we're not able to do that. And I don't want you to say something that you can't follow up with, because I don't want none of us to be destroyed. I don't want none of us to be considered to be fools. I don't want y'all to be angry with us. So in my understanding is to tell all of us that don't make a vow to Yah. Not here. Your Father has already made a vow for you. He said, if Yah, Elohim, exists and he remains with me and he's protecting me and he's giving me bread and he's giving me clothing and he's keeping me safe, then he shall be my Elohim. And then also too, I'm going to give him 1/10 of everything I have. So when you and I get back to our place of our land and get back to our inheritance, you and I will be able to fulfill the vows that our Father has made. Praise Yah, Rivqua. Any questions? I know that was a tough one, but it's the truth. We can't make vows, you guys. If we can't fulfill them, if we don't have the offering, then Yah's not interested. And we don't want to be the type of people to try to change the rules. He said that this is the Torah. Okay, so I'm not trying to minimize our relationship with the Most High. I'm just trying to keep it 100. And I'm trying to teach the people of Israel, including myself, that you don't want to say something and you don't want to be playing games. And you don't want to act like what you said is the for real thing. And don't try to deceive yourself in your brain thinking all I got to do is just do this and he's going to be fine with me. He's not. He's not. Yah's not accepting anything except for what he said. That's the point. Okay. A lot of people stop coming to my teachings because they don't like what I said. They don't like the fact that I told them they're not blessed in the land of their exile. They don't like the fact that I told them that Yah says he's going against us. They don't like the fact because they have a job or they live in a house, they think that they're blessed, and that's not the case. That's not the blessing of Yah. That's the mercy of Yah. That's not the blessing of Yah. That's the mercy of Yah. So we need to understand that. If we're going to be for real, we're going to be 100 with the Most High, that's what we need to do. We need to keep it Torah. Okay. Let me go ahead and let me see here.